Apper, you should rock a bandana.
A Zen water bandana.
Apper wears it like a mask and people hate it.
It's 2020 all over again.
This is Josh's saying, isn't it?
Beaches
do love fanny packs.
That's a pretty great
Fanny packs are back. Fanny packs are back.
Dude, I see people walking dogs with fanny packs all the time. Dude, I need to get one.
I'm thinking I might snag one before I leave.
I always put his treats in my back pocket, and then I have to empty out like the broken ones. I can do it.
You give them treats when you walk.
Good boy. People give him treats when he walks.
People give you treats when you walk.
Like a slushie and zesto.
I've never given Slider treats for walk. He's so fired up to walk. The walk is the treat.
It helps with like getting him to sit if their dog's being like really
support and relationship.
We have him sit whenever we cross the street.
Okay.
Gotta look both ways.
Your compressed air systems today. FearlessEnergy.com.
He's pretty good about that.
You might have busier streets.
Signing out for another Nebraska outdoor update.
Wow, we're already
We have
behind
some
clock.
interesting
Nice.
nature facts to get you outdoors. Did you know that Nebraska has more than 70 state park limits? More than 100.
We are being heard on the YouTube right now. I just got a message.
Hello,
YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
We do. We need more numbers. Go online to the Gaming Parks website, outdoornebraska.gov.
Question for you.
You know, Shay,
When you're on the water season, remember, wear your life jacket. Keep in mind that most people around in boating accidents are not wearing theirs. It's like I tell folks all the time, life jackets, they float, you don't, water, so why wouldn't you be wearing yours? Please think about that and be safe. I'm Greg Wagner with the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Tickets for Less. Best seats, best prices, no per ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone.
You're right here, Shay. In that box.
This is a special presentation of 1620 The Zone and the 1620 The Zone logo. This hour of the Men's College World Series special on 1620 The Zone is presented by Union Bank and Trust. People don't have your money. Your money has people. Member FDIC. 1620 The Zone is live at the Omaha Baseball Village. Powered by Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours. And Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha. Here are your hosts for today's broadcast, Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer on 1620 The Zone.
Oh, baby. I'm getting a little echo in my headphones right now. That's a great way to start. Welcome in, everybody. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you live at the College World Series, powered by Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours. Whoever our producer is, take us out of mono back there at the station. That'll probably help us out. There we go. Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer. Schaefer, what's going on?
Not a lot. Just another day of doing radio with you.
Yep. This is our third day and 4.
We talked a lot about yesterday getting you prepared for the body clock of doing a morning radio show. It's not something you do very often.
It's different, man. It really is.
And I'm curious how you feeling right now.
Oh, I'm great. I've been
good to go.
I've been up for 4 hours.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, the 6 o'clock boys.
I had to do my entire day's work before 8 a.m.
Oh.
So I didn't get it all done.
Oh,
I got
okay.
some of it done.
Yeah. Well, you got plenty of time after the show.
Maybe. I've got like a million things going on. Busy day.
Oh, busy
There's like
day.
14 camps apparently happening today in Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
All the visitors are in now for the official visit weekend.
Well, that's good.
Danny Kalin's ripping it up at the Elite 11.
Dude, your friend.
There's a lot going on.
You're chatting with Danny Kalin these
I talked to him again last night.
Again?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Well, we'll talk about that at some point on today's show. Welcome in, Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer with you. We will be here and you up into the broadcast booth, but Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer with you today. The 1620 The Zone hydration sponsor is Zen Water. Thirsty for a change. We have a ton of swag right now from Zen Water, and maybe, Shape, the most important thing on a day like today when right now it is already 80 degrees at 10:04, we have little cards for a free bottle of Zen Water that we're just giving out to people.
Your watch just tells you the degrees all the time?
Boom, right there.
Wow.
It's always nice to be able to check the weather.
Mine just tells me that I have 8 exercise minutes done so far today. So that walk from the parking lot did some heavy lifting.
I am at 48 minutes of exercise.
Oh, look at you.
I don't have to put a quarter in the jar, baby. We're here at the College World Series. I already got my run in earlier today. I'm set. I'm ready to go.
There's no jar at the College World Series?
No jar at the College World Series.
Wow.
We do have swag. We got, so I mentioned the cards that we have. We also have, look at these fanny packs. We were just talking off the air about walking our dogs. You were stunned when I told you that when I take Banks for a walk, bring treats sometimes.
Yeah.
Give him treats, and you said, for Slider, the walk is the treat.
Yeah, I mean, he would not care about the treat because he's too busy trying to sniff everything that he smelled the day before.
Oh, yeah.
But just to see if there's any change whatsoever. So he doesn't turn his nose up to treats, but I've never even considered bringing treats for the camera audio.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to blow his little doggy mind the next time. He's going to be walking like, hey, do you want this? I don't even know what I have for him anymore. It just gets sent to me in the mail.
Yeah.
I do the bark box thing. So basically every week I give treats.
By the way, see you later, guys. We got a couple of messages. I don't know, Autzen, if this is for you or who are producers back in the studio, but it sounds like we are echoing with a lot of feedback over the radio right now. So that's cool. We're off to a great start. Is there something going on with the camera? I wonder, is there a microphone coming out of the camera? Thank you, Lucas and Sky. We will try to get that fixed. Observations have been as we kind of get into now this final little run up before media days and fall camp and all those things.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like we got a show ahead of us.
We have a ton of things to talk about today, so we will do all of that and more. And we appreciate you for joining us. This is how it's going to be now over the next week. Schaefer and I will be here today. Later on, in between games, it'll be Josh Autzen and myself, and then Mike Schaefer will be back with both shows tomorrow. Sunday, I believe Handley, and then producer Jimmy will be on, so that'll be a good time. And then it'll be a kind of a hodgepodge of Happer, Handley, myself all throughout next week. So you're here on day one.
I'll be in the bullpen if you need to. You gotta make the call.
Left arm. I believe you are our if necessary championship game guy.
Yeah.
If necessary championship game guy.
Yeah, that seems like the kind of spot where you want to bring me in for. Definitely.
What's your favorite memory of the College World Series growing up?
When I was in high school, I think my last year of high school, North Carolina and Oregon State played in the title game, and we, for once, did not. So one of the things for me, I was always playing baseball when the CWS was going on, so it was hard to get down for games. But we had an open day for Game 3 between Oregon State and North Carolina. And for as long as I live, I will not forget the performance that Kevin Gunderson had in that tournament to help Oregon State win that title. I think I got to see Andrew Miller pitch. North Carolina was probably if they weren't the number 1 seed, and I don't know that they were, but they were like a top 3 seed. And then Oregon State was kind of a plucky, cool story. And that was the first of their back-to-back CWS titles in the early 2000s. And so that's definitely one of my favorite memories. I got to watch LSU and Texas play a few years later in the championship game. That was an outstanding game. I got to cover it for the Advocate down there in Baton Rouge. That was a fun time. I've been up here, since it's been at the Chuck. I've been up here a handful of times, but I don't know that I think I've been to like one championship game. Usually I just wander in on a random Tuesday afternoon elimination game. I like the elimination games. I know they run a little long because of all the pitching changes and everything else, but the tension and kind of the desperation in the air makes for sort of a fun afternoon. Like, you just don't know what kind of performance or what you're going to see.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've been here for many an elimination game, and just everything that goes into it, where they've made this trip. It's such a party the first few days, and then they get to that spot where, oh my gosh, if I lose, I'm done.
Do you remember your first CWS?
See, so we lived in a couple other states when I was a kid, when I was growing up, and so we moved back to Nebraska right after the 1997 College World Series, and so it would have been in either 98 or 99. I think it was the year that Miami won as the last actual overall number 1 seed. I'm pretty sure that was the first time, and that was back when Rosenblatt had wooden bleachers, because I remember sitting out in the wooden bleachers as a young kid, the left field sucks, right field sucks chant. I couldn't get enough of that. I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, the beach balls. So I'm pretty sure it was either 1998 or 1999, and then after that, I don't know, Schaefer, how many College World Series that I have missed since that first one. I'm sure that there is a year somewhere where I didn't go to a game or I wasn't down here. But, for sure I just realized, right, like 5 minutes before we started, this is now my 10th World Series since I've been working at 16.
Yeah, look at that. 10-year anniversary for you.
10-year anniversary. So
celebrate with some Zen water.
Oh, I'm going to celebrate, all right. And again, we are going to be here. We're going to be giving away a free. Yeah. We have coupons for free bottles of Zen water and a ton of fanny packs. Dude, I'm a sad one for thanks.
The problem everyone faces on days like this when it's really hot is you drink the water when you feel thirsty. You got to get the water in you before you're ever thirsty. Give yourself a base layer of water. Allow Zen water to do that for you. We are giving away tickets that will entitle you to a free bottle of Zen water.
Yeah, look, and we have lots of them.
Come find us here. We have plenty of them. We will make sure you stay hydrated. I was just thinking about it. I think the first ever game I saw would have been in the 90s. I went with a couple friends of mine in the neighborhood. Their dad was a teacher, and so he's off for the summer. And so he took us down to the CWS, and I watched Miami and Alabama play. I don't know what year. I want to say it was like 96, 97. That was the first time it was ever at the CWS.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because at that time, it was kind of this it was on ESPN. It was sort of this thing that happened in the summer, and you knew it was happening in Nebraska. I don't think it had fully exploded yet to kind of like the big production that it became in the early 2000s.
Well, I remember, dude, in some of the later years of Rosenblatt, where they would bring Sports Center, and they would have the Sports Center set, like Linda Cohn would be there. And that's when I realized, like, whoa, this is way bigger than I think I thought it was.
They thought it was like this niche thing, and it was on ESPN in the summer in the afternoons. And kids like me that had nothing better to do would just have that on if we weren't outside screwing around. And it blew up from that point forward. And it's such a great event. Still happy that Omaha is able to host this. There was that brief little moment of concern that it could go somewhere else. It is in its rightful place here in Omaha.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of water, by the way, 1620 The Zone is joined today by the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium, the #1 zoo in the nation. All new tailgate days going on now. Visit omahazoo.com. So as I mentioned, we'll have Evan Bland joining us next hour. We'll have Eric Sorensen joining us in the final hour. We will be off today at 12:40 ahead of Oral Roberts versus TCU. We'll talk about that matchup a little bit later on in the show. That one will start just after 1 o'clock. John Bishop, Kerry Sharp on the call, Connor Happer on the field. Then Josh Hodson and I will be back in between that game and the nightcap this evening. Virginia versus Florida, an ACC-SEC matchup. That one will start a little bit after 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow we have Wake Forest versus Stanford and LSU versus Tennessee, an all SEC matchup.
A lot of purple out there in the parking lots.
Dude, it's the first thing I noticed. I got out of my car, I turned, the first 10 I see, LSU.
Yeah.
Lots of LSU fans.
I have to say, some of what makes the College World Series great, especially when you're here early, is just a laid back vibe. The people that are already just chilling in their lawn chairs, sitting under their awnings, they got their mobile Blackstones out or whatever, and they're getting ready to tailgate with their friends, with strangers, with whoever. The vibe around here is so laid back at times that you don't even realize people are playing for a championship.
Yeah, seriously.
Like it's incredible.
It's like a much different tailgate scene than like a football game.
Yeah.
Right? Like a once a week kind of live or die thing.
It makes me wish that June wasn't the busiest month of the calendar for me with recruiting stuff outside of maybe December, because I would love to just take a week and just hang out here.
Yeah.
And just have like no real need to be anywhere at any time. And just live on CWS time.
Well, that's what we talked about him earlier this week. Our good friend Laney Holstein, he would take off weeks of work. He would just take off a week of work and come down here, no matter what industry that he was in, having a good time. Speaking of recruiting, let's talk some of that when we return. A busy week in Nebraska. I have a big picture question for you later on in the show that we can get to, but I want to talk about Daniel Kalin when we return. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. Josh Hodson producing down here with us. We are in the Omaha Baseball Village. Please do stop by. We have fanny packs. We're giving away free water. We got hats. We have bandanas. It's going to be a hot one today, friends. You got to protect that neck of yours. More to come here on 1620 The Zone.
Internet.
Next batch. Do we have a Wi-Fi login for today? Yes. Welcome back to the Omaha Baseball Village alongside Mike Schaefer. I am Josh Peterson. We are powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha. In this hour 1, presented by Union Bank and Trust. People don't have your money has people. Member FDIC. We will be here ahead of TCU and Oral Roberts. That one starts just a little bit after 1 o'clock. We'll be off the air at 12:40 and then send you up into the broadcast booth. John Bishop, Gary Sharp on the call, and then Connor Happer searching for a bucket hat. Mr. Connor Happer, he'll be down there on the field.
Oh, he should be able to find a bucket hat somewhere around here.
I think so.
No doubt about it.
I saw a Kansas one. I said, why don't you buy the Kansas one? He said, I don't think I should buy the Kansas one.
Why would anyone want a Kansas?
I don't. My question was, why are they selling Kansas bucket hats here?
I don't know. Lance Leipold effect, I guess.
Hey, people love Lance Leipold.
Yeah, they remember his time at UNO and his time as a recruiting staffer. Basically, Kansas football is now just being adopted by Nebraska fans, I guess.
Is this happening like when we were kids, how people would adopt them with basketball? Now they're going to adopt them for football because they loved it when he was a recruiting.
The original and the most despisable of the J schools.
Would you say that was the original sin?
Original J schools by far.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Kirk
Ferentz? Kirk Heinrich, yeah.
And we're talking about him. We're talking about Jack Vaughn. We're talking about
Paul Pierce,
Ray
LaFrance. These are,
Nick Collison.
We used to do baseball facts. You could do Kansas basketball facts.
No.
A ton of Husker football fans would know them, right? They'd be like, oh, I can tell you a Kansas basketball fact. I rooted for them in March.
Yeah, you could be like, well, they've been knocked out by Bradley.
Nice. Northern Iowa.
You could just do that. VCU.
Is that the team that you hate the most in all of college sports, Kansas basketball?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. Still.
And Nebraska didn't even play them here.
I remember when I was trying to implore you why Kansas would be a great addition for the Big Ten, and you were like, no, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You said that. You still say that.
Believe that.
Yeah, you still,
I want nothing to do with that.
But wouldn't it be fun to play them and hate them again on an annual basis? No? Okay. We were talking about our earliest College World Series.
I don't want just real quickly. I don't want people to be like, oh well, I guess we got to do conference cheering for Kansas basketball in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
Yeah,
and I don't need that.
All right. We were talking about our first memories of the College World Series. Joel says my first CWS game was OU versus Clemson in 2010. That's the last year at the Black.
Oh, wow.
Fun picture. I retweeted it. On Twitter, so if you want to go check it out, that's a great picture. Yeah,
I did not make it the final year of the Black.
Neat. You know what? So I was trying to figure out which year did I not go? That's the year. Yeah. I did not go in 2010, and then I went in 2011, and now I've been here working every year since. Oh wait, Shape, I said that this was the 10th year. Never mind. I started producing the College World Series in 2012. I don't know what the hell I was talking about. This is year 12 or 13.
Wow.
My bad.
So
Fake news.
We had a fake anniversary for you.
Man, I tweeted it and everything. That's a tough look.
The lesson here is never tweet, really.
Yeah, well, I've kind of tamped down on it a little bit, and probably for the best. For the best.
100%.
I think that's what I will do moving forward. You had a chance to speak with Daniel Kalin earlier this week. Well, then you had a chance to speak with him last night. There was a quote that I want to read to you that he said, because I thought it was really interesting. He said, even this offseason, I'd say I got burned out a few times. And you wrote, Kalin said, reflecting on the first half of the year, a lot more plane rides, and there was a point from the middle of December through April. I wasn't in Nebraska for a full weekend. There were times where I was burned out. Ever since I got to high school, playing the quarterback position became an obsession for me. Everything I do is geared towards making me the best quarterback I can be while still having school and social media aspects. It's not that hard to balance because it's something I really want. I just want to be the best possible quarterback I could be and play as long as I can. There is a ton in there. The first part about, I think all of us, right, have had that, especially the older we get. I know I've been looking at my summer calendar like, ooh, wow, there's not a whole lot of weekends. Yeah. Right now I have nothing on the calendar. He's dealing with that as a 17, as an 18-year-old. But then at the end he talks about, essentially you kind of figure out, well, why is the first part of the quote? Because the second part, because he is trying to be the best quarterback that he can be. What did you make of that quote? And I guess, what do you make of him, given that you've now had many conversations with him?
Well, I think very highly of Daniel Kalin, and I think people know that. And I think I feel that way because I've seen him put in the work. I mean, this is someone I've known about since he was a freshman because he was at these camps. He was working with Sage Rosenfels as a freshman because he wanted to get better. He was working with Warren Academy as a freshman because he wanted to get better. He was doing all of these things and trying to put himself in a position where he could play, high-level college football, and who knows. After that, and over the last year, you have to kind of give up a lot.
Yes.
He gave up a large portion of his junior offseason to basically continue to get better at being quarterback. To go play on a 7-on-7 team out in California, which meant he had to just jump on a plane Friday after school, fly somewhere, sometimes by himself, sometimes with family, to just go play in a tournament that's going to be all day, turn around, fly back, and go back to school, on Monday. Like, it's just the amount of time, and this was something that he chose to do, that he wanted to do, because he wants to continually get better. He wants to continually push himself to see what's next, what he can possibly do. And so, I was really curious when I talked to him a week ago out at Bellevue West, like, hey, do you ever kind of look at it and be like, man, I missed out on this, or I didn't get to do this, or I kind of wish I hadn't done that? And he said no, and then obviously he gave that answer that he did. And I think he's such a mature guy, and he has such a drive. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to guarantee that he's going to be Nebraska's starting quarterback at any point in time, but I will guarantee you he's going to give himself the best opportunity to be, and he's not going to leave anything, left unsaid. I guess he's going to get every ounce of everything he has. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Don't you think it's really cool as you've been in this industry now? This is not your 10th anniversary because of math and such. Like the older I get, and I imagine for you, like the more you talk to these players, like a window into the sacrifices that they have to make. Like, I don't want to turn everything back to me going for a run, but it is. I'm serious, man. The last few years, I wish that I would have had this appreciation for running when I was first getting into the business, because I think that it would have given me a better appreciation for what the players and the coaches too, but specifically the players from this conversation, what they have to go through, and like sacrificing. Okay, well, I have to wake up at X hour tomorrow to work out or whatever. All right, well, that means my night is ending at this time. And I mean, it's so obvious, when you take a step back. But when I read these quotes, burned out, or you tell these stories about the lack of an off season or the lack of free time that he can have, it does make sense. But it also is like a nice window into what it's like to be a big time quarterback in high school who is looking to go to college.
You know what it tells me, and what it could be used for anybody, whether it's Daniel Kalin or the next Daniel Kalin, or even, it doesn't even have to be football related. You can apply it to anything. There's always someone out there working.
Yes.
There is always someone. So, like, it's one of those things we all will reflect on what it is that we're doing. And I'll look at the past week and be like, man, I really spent a lot of time on this or a lot of time on that. But you know what? In my industry or in any industry, there's still someone spending a lot of time, because there's always something else to do. There's always more. And I think that attitude, if you can bottle that, it can carry you in a lot of ways. And, he may not have the best arm at the Elite 11. He may not be the best quarterback at the Elite 11, but he put himself in that position because he probably worked as hard as anybody there to give himself the opportunity to go compete at the Elite 11. I think that says a lot about Daniel Kalin. I think it says a lot about, the upcoming fall for Bellevue West. I'm really excited. You got a team with Isaiah McMorris and Davon Hall, and they've got young guys that are coming, and Caprice Keith and Eric Evans. They've got some Jeremiah Green, I think that's the name. I mean, they've got a lot of young guys. They've got an exciting offense, as always. They're going to have to figure some things out on defense. I'm really excited to go and watch some of these games with Bellevue West and with West Side and with Elkhorn South. I mean, there's so much talent here in the Metro right now. And I just think you see someone like Kalin working, that's going to cause other guys to work like that too. Isaiah McMorris is going to get the work if Daniel Kalin's working, because he needs someone to throw to. And then, respectively, Omaha West Side is going to help their game because they know that they're got the target. Like, it all builds off of each other. I think one of the reasons we're seeing an explosion of in-state talent, one, people are recognizing there's more athleticism here than what maybe was previously thought.
Yes.
These kids are all working off of each other. They're all, calling each other up like, hey, I want to throw. Hey, I want to run routes. Hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to work against you. They're all trying to get better for the common purpose of getting themselves better. And, the iron sharpens iron is a real thing.
I have a follow-up question for you on Kalin. We can get to that when we return, and then some other stuff as well. Evan Bland is going to join us next hour. We'll talk to him about some Husker football stuff, but also the Men's College World Series, which is a couple hours away from starting. Also, speaking of that, we will have Eric Sorensen stop by later on. You can stop by as well. Come by the zone booth at the bullpen inside of the Omaha Baseball Village. Register to win a summer prize pack of a grill, KC Royals tickets, and ice cream from Ted and Wally's and Rib Shack Barbecue for an entire year. Shake, barbecue and ice cream for a whole year? Sign me up. 13th and Mike Fahey. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. Also, we got stuff to give away, whether it's bandanas, whether it's fanny packs for treats for your dogs when you go on walk, a bunch of water. Stop by. You need to be hydrated for the long day. Thanks to our friends here at Zen Water. Back after this on the Zone.
yours on 1620 The Zone.
Hit a home run with down-home Southern-style barbecue from the Rib Shack Smokehouse, 108th and Q, and ribshacksmokehouse.com. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. We are powered by Access Bank, here for a reason, yours. Come stop by the Omaha Baseball Village. We have so many things. First of all, we have all of these little coupons, ticket. What would you call this, Mike Schaefer?
I would call them a coupon that entitles you to some hydration on a hot day.
There you go. So we have those, and you just come by and you say,
Hydration coupons.
can I get a hydration coupon? And we say yes. And then you say, what's the catch? And we say, there is no catch. Here you go. Go get some free water.
Yeah.
You need that on a day like today.
You know how they say there's no free lunch?
Yes.
I can't speak about the lunch, but I can tell you we can give you free water.
We can give you free
We
water.
can get you free hydration right now on a hot day.
And then on top of that, we got fanny packs. And I mean, I keep saying it, man. You put the treatsies in here for your dog, you're gonna have a great time. You can put. You said your phone.
Yeah, you
Put
can carry your phone.
in
You
there.
could have. I got some chapstick here because my lips keep getting beat up by the sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You carry some of that. You know.
We have hats which cover your face.
Yeah.
So we have so many things.
Water, which keeps you hydrated.
See, look at. I mean, we have all
A bandana, which is fashionable to either wear for you or your dog, or you can have it as a sweat rag when it's really hot.
I mean, we're basically helping you stay comfortable, cool, and hydrated.
And also collected. Because if you're all of those things, you're thinking better.
Oh yeah,
You're making smarter decisions.
maybe you're sending smarter text messages or smarter DMs, if you will. One more question for you on Daniel Kalin. How important is it, and this is such a typical question to ask, but I'm going to do it anyway. Omaha Metro guy, Omaha Metro quarterback, Bellevue West guy. How important is it for him, for Nebraska, to have a good career?
I mean, obviously, it's important for him to have a good career. For Nebraska, you would love it because it would reinforce the idea that you can take players from your state, develop them, and get them to where they want to go. I mean, ultimately, his dream is to play in the NFL. And if you can put Daniel Kalin in the NFL, we'd be talking about at least two quarterbacks. You know, you have Easton Stick. Who knows what's going to happen with Zane Flores? I think he's got a great shot at that too. And I think we can see him playing right away for Oklahoma State. So I think the more you can do that, the more you can reinforce to local kids that there's a pathway to get to the NFL, that Nebraska can help do that. It's going to make it easier to recruit in state. And it's also going to tell other players that maybe aren't here in Omaha, that maybe aren't here in Nebraska, hey, these guys know what they're doing. They're able to take a kid, talented kid, and they're able to make them better.
Do you think he feels that pressure?
I don't think he feels that pressure. One of the great things I think about Danny is that he is so driven internally that the external stuff doesn't bother him as much.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I hear from him and other people around him. Now, we don't always know what's going on in anyone's brain, but I think that he pushes himself enough that he doesn't hear the outside noise. And that was a big part of getting him to Nebraska in the first place. Because if he was focused on the outside noise, I don't know that he would want to come to a place where everyone was just completely like, yeah, it's going Rayola or bust. So I think having that mindset, allows him to go out there and be successful.
Do you think other players from this state feel that pressure, or is that more of a we focus on those types of things and the players don't really think about those? Like, I got to do this for my state.
I don't know. I don't look at it where Nick Henrich is making a tackle. He's making a tackle for the city
state.
of Omaha, or for
This is for
Omaha.
OPS.
But yeah, I think that there is the idea that you want to show out. I mean, I going back to Garrett Nelson, I think this is a great example. Garrett Nelson really wanted to be a big success at Nebraska. He wanted to be a leader. He wanted to be a captain. He wanted to have an opportunity to play for titles and bowl games and everything else because he grew up dreaming of doing it. And I think he wanted to be the next generation. Like, there's some kid out there in Scottsbluff that wants to be the next Garrett Nelson.
Yeah.
Like, I think that matters to a lot of these guys. And again, it's not just a Nebraska specific thing, but I mean, when you're a kid and there's someone from your neighborhood or there's someone from your school or whatever, Columbus, everybody talked about Corey Schlesinger. Nobody was going to be the next Corey Schlesinger, no matter how hard they tried. That's rarefied air, but that stuff reverberates throughout. And so if Daniel Kalin can be the first Bellevue West quarterback to really kind of break through and be a Power 5 guy, that's huge for Michael Huffman and for that program.
Man, that's so cool to hear because, like, you growing up at that time, and you are so in 1995, January 1st, 1995, when Corey Schlesinger has that touchdown. How old are you?
I am at that point. I am 7 years old.
I mean, talk about an impressionable age.
I mean,
someone to look up to like that.
It was huge because I've said this a million times. His dad was our garbage man.
Yeah.
And so Corey sometimes in the summer would also be the garbage man.
That is awesome.
And his truck had him on. You know, it was like it's a big thing in Columbus, and Corey Schlesinger is always going to be a big thing in Nebraska history. And for me especially, I have a very fond memory of that championship game because they win it. I'm like with my dad and my brother and my family in our basement. You know, we're celebrating. And I distinctly remember my dad just picks me up and my head hits the ceiling. And everyone's cheering and I'm crying because my head had just hit the ceiling. But, you know, that was like one of the earliest Husker memories I have. And for someone from the hometown to which I grew up.
Ties the game in.
Huge part of that.
Oh, incredible.
Like you can't, you know, and so I always think about it. You can't really tell the story of 1990s Nebraska football without Corey Schlesinger.
And so I say that to wonder aloud, what was it like for people at my high school? And now Paul, because I graduated the same class as him, he didn't have a Corey Schlesinger type moment, but he had a very successful career. How many players followed him in the years that followed and said, I want to be the next Niles Paul. I want to be the next guy from Omaha North. And do kids, I mean, now, gosh, it's 2023, it's 16 years ago now. Do kids still think that way? Is he just kind of, like for me growing up, I remember going down this hallway and seeing, this McGee guy from North who played for the Lakers? I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Like,
my father-in-law would tell you that's one of the best basketball players the city has ever seen.
And so hopefully Niles Paul isn't that way for kids today, but suddenly, I mean, it is 2 decades in the rear view. Essentially,
I don't think they, with all the respect in the world to Niles Paul, who turned out to have a great, you know, Husker career followed by an opportunity to play in the NFL. I think for the recruits now, you'd be talking about someone like Keegan Johnson. You'd be talking Cade Johnson. I mean, he's playing in the NFL. I mean, we don't probably give Cade Johnson enough credit because he didn't go to Nebraska. But that was a guy who walks on in South Dakota State, made himself an FCS All-American, and now he's playing for the Seahawks. And he's on the active roster when they're playing the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs. I think he is. And so, I mean, they have those guys now. And so I think, you know, if someone like Daniel Kalin can position himself, or Zane Forrest for that matter.
For sure.
It doesn't have to just be the Nebraska specific. But if you can see someone that you saw playing in high school that's now playing in college, it makes it easier for you to visualize and be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely it does. We were telling some College World Series stories earlier. Another one, this is from Greg in Lincoln. He says, my first experience, not attendance, was with LSU fans post-1997 College World Series at Eppley as my new wife and I were flying out for our honeymoon. They were so happy as they just won, asked us why we were flying, and these total happy strangers were so happy for us, congratulated us. They are cool fans. Like everybody has a good story about LSU.
Yeah, I mean, if you spent any time around the CWS in the last 30 years, it seems like you should have at least 1 or 2 LSU stories.
Yes.
Probably got invited to a tailgate or whatever else. Maybe the first time you've ever had gumbo or jambalaya or whatever.
Yes.
And they just descend upon Omaha, and they are thrilled to be here. We are always thrilled to have them.
Well, if you've descended upon Omaha, don't forget the Country Fest is back at OBV. This Friday, OBV welcomes singer and songwriter Corey Kent to the Beer Garden stage. Tickets right now are only $20 in advance at mattressfactoryomaha.com. Or if you want to wait, well, you're going to spend a little bit more, but it's only $25 at the door. But get those tickets right now for $20 in advance at the mattressfactoryomaha.com. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. We're going to finish up the hour when we return. Coming up in the second hour, Evan Bland will stop by at the Omaha World Herald. Also, we'll have Eric Sorensen a little bit later on, as well as we get you ready for day one, the Men's College World Series. Oral Roberts versus TCU, 2.5 hours away, less than 2.5 hours away. More to come here on 1620 The Zone.
Live from Omaha Baseball Village, powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha and Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours on 1620 The Zone.
Finishing up hour number one here at the Omaha Baseball Village. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. We are powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha. And this hour is presented by Union Bank and Trust. People don't have your money has people. Member FDIC. We'll have Evan Bland coming up next hour. We'll have Eric Sorensen stopping by in the noon hour. We'll be off at 12:40, and we will send you up into the broadcast booth. John Bishop, Gary Sharp on the call. Connor Happer down on the field. Oral Roberts versus TCU. Oral Roberts is going to be the team of the people here because it's fun to say Oral. Mike Schaefer?
It's a little bit of that. I think also, they're a Summit League team, so they played Omaha a few times, so people know that.
Josh Otson put out a press release about that earlier this week. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
What?
Chant Summit League. Right, Josh?
Summit League.
Summit League. Instead of SEC,
And
Summit League.
I think that Omaha likes to adopt the underdogs
Yes.
when possible, and especially when they're making an appearance for the first time in a while. I think it's a great. I think it's a fair team to root for. I like this field. It's a good field this year. You get your stalwarts and your LSU. You got some SEC flavor in there. TCU's back. It was fun when they were on their run. A few years ago. Stanford for the first time in a while. Wake Forest for the first time in however many years.
Dude, a long time.
And they're the 1 seed.
Since the 50s.
They're the least talked about top team here, probably.
Yeah.
So, it's just a good field overall.
Yeah, it's a really good field. That's the first game coming up, Oral Roberts versus TCU. We'll also have Virginia and Florida finishing up the evening. That one will start a little after 6 o'clock tomorrow. Wake Forest, the aforementioned Demon Deacons versus Stanford, and then an all-SEC matchup to finish out the first couple of days, LSU versus Tennessee. Yeah, I think you're right. We really do love the underdogs here, and I think that Oral Roberts is going to fit that. It's funny, we talked about him a bunch this week, and especially with Mike Fair, and I thought that he put it so well on Twitter earlier this week, and he'll be on the call, by the way, with John for quite a few games over the course of the next week and change. But like a 51-win team is an underdog.
Yep.
It doesn't really go together when you see the number of wins and the type of and the way I guess in which they talked about coming as a 4 seed in their own regional is wild.
They smash the regional,
Destroy it.
and then they take 3 games, but they win the Super Regional.
You could make an argument that series versus Oregon should have been over in 2 games
Right.
because they're up 8-0 in game 1, and then it's an insane comeback by the Ducks to make it. Oregon wins game 1, and then Oral Roberts take care of business in games 2 and 3.
And then they have the ability to just erase that, flush it, come back and win 2 games.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. After game 1, you would have just figured, all right, well, see you later. The Ducks are going to get the victory, maybe even in comfortable fashion the next day. So for them to do that, to recover, it makes me wonder, I guess, what we're going to see from them here, given that they were able to do that. Now they're doing it on the biggest stage, but look, they were at Oregon, so they were playing on the road. And again, they were up 8-0 when they melted down and they lost. And still, they came through the losers bracket. They had to win 2 straight games in Eugene. They were able to do so.
Yeah, so set the team. Who's playing today? What's the schedule?
Oral Roberts, TCU, that's at 1 o'clock.
All right.
And then Virginia, Florida, that's at 6 o'clock.
And then Saturday, we are getting Stanford and Wake at 1 o'clock.
And then LSU, Tennessee.
Yeah, that is a great Saturday.
Dude, it's awesome.
Saturday finale right there.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And I don't remember if this is the first or now the second year in a row, maybe even the third, when they moved the series back to a Friday opener, guaranteeing us games next Saturday and Sunday. There were a couple of series in my time over a decade now, as I realize today, where we would get to the Saturday and Sunday of the second weekend, and there would be no baseball because the championship series would start on Monday and would go potentially to Wednesday. And so I love this format way better. We're going to have baseball games both weekends in Omaha. I think it'll be better for fans that are staying in town. And like you said, it's an incredible weekend of matchups. But the LSU-Tennessee game, following Wake and Stanford, what a way to begin the first weekend of the College World Series.
Yeah. Great matchups, great field. We'll see if the weather holds up. Have you done some advanced scouting on this?
Yes, I have. I think I'm a little concerned. I think we're all a little concerned about tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's today, Josh, that we're worried about. Thunderstorms in the forecast. That's it. Here's the thing. That's it. You check. That's true. That is it. Looking at the extended forecast, the Omaha weather scene has been wrong for like a month now. Every morning I log on to my app. I don't log in with a password. I open my weather app and I look and it says 50% chance of thunderstorms today. We never get the thunderstorms, which has had me concerned that we're finally going to get them here. But otherwise, it should just be hot and humid. So,
all right, we'll see what the weather brings.
And you know
we're
what?
here either way. That's what I understand.
It's hot and humid. We are here either way, and we have free water to give away.
Yeah.
Stop by our friends from Zen Water. Not only do we have free water, we have a bunch of free swag as well, and we're giving it to you.
Yeah, people have not been taking the hats.
Come on, take the hats.
This is a good sweat catcher right there.
And we did just have a couple of people stop by and take some bandanas, and then the fanny packs. Next time someone comes up with and they're going to get a fanny pack, I'm going to ask them, is this for your dog? Is this for treatsies for your dog? So that's the question that I will have for them. 1620 The Zone is joined today by the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium. Water, #1 zoo in the nation. All new tailgate days going on now. Visit omahazoo.com. So we will wrap up hour number 1. We will get you ready for hour number 2. Evan Bland is going to stop by. He of the Omaha World Herald. We'll talk about the series, what he expects to see. Big news this week in the Nebraska athletic scene. Jordy Ball transferring in to Nebraska. Of course, he covers Nebraska football as well. So there's just a bevy of topics that we can get into with Evan Bland. Also, we'll have Eric Sorensen stop by. And usually, Shane, you're lucky you're in here on today. Eric, when he stops by, he often will have gifts for us of the alcohol variety. So you never know. Like I've gotten beer from him before. One time I got a bottle of whiskey from him.
Wow.
Yeah, you just never know what Eric is whatever he's gonna hand to you. So
I certainly don't need any of this, but I will certainly not deny or pass up any of it.
Last year he hooked us up with a 6-pack of a lager, of a California lager of some sort. We did it for One Beer Friday. It was great.
I like it.
We like it too. So we will maybe have that more. Either way, we'll have great conversation with Eric, great conversation with Evan Bland. All of that to come over the next hour and 45 minutes. Getting you ready for Oral Roberts and TCU. He is Mike Schaefer. I'm Josh Peterson. More to come from the Omaha Baseball Village here on 1620 The Zone.
and Mike Schaefer on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back to the Omaha Baseball Village here on 1620 The Zone. We are powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, and our zone hydration sponsor is Zen Water. Thirsty for a change? Stop by. We have a ton of stuff from Zen Water that we will give to you. We will give to you, whether it is free water, whether it is a fanny pack, whether it is a bandana, or more. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald joins us right now. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. Evan, do you have a dog?
I do not know.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is it off? All right, that microphone is having a couple of issues.
Is it right for me here?
Shake. Nice. All right, well, never mind. Evan.
We'll share. No, I don't have a dog.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, if you had a dog, what would you think about using this for treats when you take the dog for walks?
Well, that was when you said fanny pack, I immediately started thinking back to like when was the last time that I wore one. When I was a kid, I played Game Boy. I had a Game Boy fanny pack and it had like cartridges for the little games.
Batteries, probably.
Yeah, you had the batteries just in case you needed to fill in. I think that's the last time I've worn a fanny pack.
Yeah. I have one. I'm taking it home, and this is now what I'm going to use every time that I walk my dog.
That's good.
I'll put the treats in there for him. Yeah, take one. Yeah, feel free. Send water. Look at the stuff with bandanas. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. You've been covering the College World Series now for how many years? What year is this for you?
I started in 09, so the last couple of years at Rosenblatt.
Ooh, so almost 15. How does this feel compared to the others you've covered?
I mean, the field is fun. Like it has a little bit of whatever you want. Like if you want to root for the underdog, you've got Oral Roberts. If you want the raw, like future Major League Baseball talent, you've got Florida. If you want the veterans, you've got Stanford. You can just kind of go down the list. If you want the brand names that haven't been here a while, LSU and Tennessee. Like
Wake Forest.
It's got a little bit of everything.
Wake Forest
hasn't been here since '55, so that's pretty cool too. It's fun, and I'll say too, like having been here for the media day yesterday, like this is a group of guys that are just excited to be here. Like other than Stanford, for the most part, these guys have not experienced Omaha. There's just sort of a vibrancy to it, and it's I think for the first time since the pandemic. It's felt relaxed. Like guys are, you can interact with players. Like they can go and come as they please. It really just feels like pre-pandemic 2019 and earlier this year.
Thank you, Evan. So I want to change gears. You're here. I know it's the College World Series, but by law we have to talk about football as much as possible, and specifically Nebraska football. I am really kind of curious. How do you feel like this month is sort of been as Nebraska has kicked off official visits? They have your first set of camps under Matt Rule. They haven't slowed at all with offers. They're out down there in Texas with satellite camps. And, of course, you have two big visit weekends coming up. How do you feel like this month has been, which is usually one of the biggest months on the calendar for a football program?
June's always kind of a weird month for me because I am so involved in the College World Series and college baseball. Like, we're around Nebraska football most of the year together, and like this is probably the month that I take the furthest step back. And so it's been kind of interesting to see it. I mean, obviously you're a lot more in the weeds right now this month than I am, but it's just a constant reminder of just the elbow grease that this staff's putting into things. Like, as we were talking about off air, just the offers that they're making out of camps is unusual. How they're hitting Texas hard, how they're still in the process of ingratiating themselves into the community. Like, you think about the run that this group has been on since Matt Rule was hired in November. They haven't stopped. I mean, they've learned the current team. They've gone through practice. They probably haven't still even really figured out where they're going to live or who their doctor is going to be, or their vet, if they have a dog, or a fanny pack. Like, you just don't know. So July is going to be a great time off for these guys. But man, you don't know if it's going to equate to wins or success, but like they've done everything that you could possibly think of to set themselves up to do well this week.
So we awkwardly slide the mic back and forth. Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer with you, and Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald is joining us right now. So is what the season 2.5 half months. Questions, I guess, do you have when you kind of sit in here that you think could be answered by game one, or like going in that you think maybe we have a good handle on? And then are there questions that you're like, man, that might not be something that we know by October, maybe even November?
Well, I kind of felt like the defense might take a year, and they have a lot of really talented young players that are going to come along. We saw it in the spring game with guys like with Cam Lenhart and some of the other young guys, Prince Will, and Kalin. But like, you know, they're still 18 and they're still learning a new system that's quite a bit different from what they had in the past. And so I think you're going to have some learning curves there. I think that's a defense in transition. You still have guys like Luke Reimer, Nick Henrich, who've been around the block, Quentin Newsom, but there's still, I just feel like that's a unit that's going to take a year to settle in. To me, in year one, like the offense is probably going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, Jeff Sims is going to have to be the guy that we saw in the spring game, limiting the turnovers. This has been a key for him. And then, whoever emerges out of that running back room, we still don't really know what we're going to get out of the offensive line. It's a lot of the same faces, minus Ben Scott there in the middle. But that to me just, the more I look at it, the more I kind of feel like the path to bowl eligibility is going to be the offense is going to have to carry a bigger load in the
So do you think they can? Like, because I'm with you. I think the defense, just all of the changes that they're making in the talent level on that side of the ball, I'm like, all right, it seems like the offense is going to have to do the heavy lifting. But then I'm like, ooh, can they? Because I just don't know who I feel good about in the skill room. Obviously, there are questions with Sims, and then you mentioned the offensive line. Can that side of the ball do what they're going to have to do theoretically to make a bowl game?
I mean, you're right. Like, there's not a lot of track record there. I mean, Billy Kemp's done it elsewhere. I think he's really impressive. Marcus Washington has done it elsewhere. We saw a little bit of that from him last year. The staff really loves Gabe Irvin, and he's had his moments as a starter, and then he was hurt, so we don't really know if he's the guy. Does Anthony Grant sort of rise up again, maybe with a little bit better of a load management than he had last year? And again, like, the quarterback piece is really fascinating too, because as good as Jeff Sims may be, history tells us that when you run your quarterback as much as Nebraska says it wants to, guys are going to get hurt. You're going to be more prone to turn the ball over, because that's just the nature of the thing. And so how do you feel about the depth that you have behind Sims? And based on what we've seen, I think it's a stretch to say that they could continue to do what they want to do if Jeff Sims went down.
Going back to the College World Series, which begins today in a little bit with Oral Roberts and TCU, what are you expecting to see from Oral Roberts? Because we were talking about it before we went to break to finish up the last hour. I mean, they were down 8-0 in the first game of the Supers against Oregon. Or they were up 8-0, rather. They lose that game. And most teams, I mean, I think the next day on the road would just be brutal, and they get sent home 2-2, season over. They come back, they win both those games, they make it here. As Mike Farron referred to them as, they're a 51-win underdog. It's just all of those things don't really go well together. What are you expecting to see from them?
Yeah, I've kind of had an argument with some colleagues about, like, is this a true 4 seed in the vein of Stony Brook and Fresno State from back in the day? And I don't know that it is. Like, if you follow college baseball, Oral Roberts has made the postseason 21 of the last 25 years. They've been a Summit League power. They're always in the mix. They just got high and went a little farther this week. So, like, I think they have the tools in place. They have a couple sluggers. Matt Hogan's been an All-American type of player. They have pitching depth. They have the good luck charm of the only native Nebraskan on their roster. So I think that's interesting. But like, the TCU side of it's fascinating too, because I think they get kind of lost in the discussion of Oral Roberts and how far that they've come and how hot they've been. TCU was a team going into May that was barely above 500. They've won 19 of their last 21, crushed Arkansas in the regional multiple times. So, I think it's a really fascinating game, because I think objectively you look at bracket 1, bracket 2, this is, the less star-studded bracket. That's going to come tomorrow. But one of these teams is going to start 1-0 and is going to have a shot to start 2-0 and really put itself in a favorable position against Virginia, against Florida, whatever it might be. So a really fascinating game 1, I think, to start this thing.
Evan, I know you're a big Major League Baseball guy as well, big Cubs fan. We have heard that this is just a star-studded field here at the College World Series. I know you played some fantasy baseball. Like I said, Cubs guy, what player or players are you most excited to just put eyes on here at the CWS?
I mean, where do you start? Like, I suppose you start with LSU's 1-2 combo, Paul Skeens, Saturday night. I mean, he's a guy who's sitting around 90 miles an hour. He's somebody who could be a regular in the lineup too if LSU had wanted him to be a 20 home run guy. To me, that's a guy who could start a Major League Baseball game next month and probably do okay. Dylan Cruz, the outfielder, is another one. He's a dynamic talent out there, power, speed, everything you could want. Florida's got Jack Taglione, who's going to be the face of college baseball next season. He's a sophomore, so you would think in 24 he's going to be a really high-end pick. He's leading the nation in home runs with 31. He can hit 96, 97 as their third starter. So that's, somebody else. And then I think Tennessee, too, is really fascinating with a lot of high-end talent. I mean, their bullpen, guys like Chase Burns, somebody who hit 102 in the Super Regional. So, that's not stuff that you can necessarily coach up too much. Just, again, a lot of talent, and that's not talking about guys maybe who are a little bit more established, like Wyatt Langford for Florida or Braden Montgomery for Stanford. I mean, there's just Quinn Matthews who threw 150 whatever pitches last week in the Supers. Just a lot of it feels like a lot more star power than we sometimes see. Oftentimes these teams are sort of greater than the sum of their parts, and this year the parts are often impressive too.
Evan, before I let you go, Evan Bland of the World Herald with us right now. The news of the week, Jordy Ball. I mean, you're just kind of shaking your head. I mean, what now with the benefit of a couple of days of hindsight, a little over 24 hours since the news was official now that she is coming to Nebraska. How have you been able to put this into perspective? Because I've been thinking about it with looking at all the other sports and what would be the equivalency of this happening. And then you're like, okay, it would be. I mean, it's like Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And I know he transferred already, but it would be transferring after winning the awards, after winning a national championship. So it's kind of hard to think about it in that way. How do you do that right now?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Caleb Williams is the one that came to mind for me too, but his came sort of the coaching change and all of that.
Yeah.
Jordy Ball's came. I mean, she had everything laid out in front of her. Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma was 61-1. No end in sight. It looked like the success was just going to continue for another couple of years. And then this thing comes out of the blue where she's transferring. And so I think to me, it's a reminder that as much as we talk about the transfer portal and NIL, it's pretty clear that this decision was not based on money, and it wasn't even necessarily based on on-field success. But there are so many different reasons student athletes enter the portal, and in her case, she wanted to be closer to home. She wanted her boyfriend's on the Nebraska baseball team, her family and support base is back in Papillion, and so she felt so strongly about that she was willing to forego 2 more years in a fantastic situation. To be an incredibly high-profile athlete where she was, to come home, and it really sets up a fascinating. I mean, it raises the tide for Nebraska softball. I mean, it's unprecedented what this is. They've already been an NCAA tournament team the last couple of years, and now suddenly you think super regionals is probably the floor for what this team can be moving forward.
Absolutely incredible. Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald. You can read his College World Series coverage at omaha.com, his Nebraska coverage at huskerextra.com. as well. Evan, we appreciate it. Sorry about the mic situation, but thanks for joining us for a few minutes.
Thanks, guys.
Evan Bland joining us here at the Omaha Baseball Village. Come by the Zone booth inside of the OBV and register to win ice cream for a year from 10 Wally's. 10 Wally's official ice cream with 1620 The Zone, celebrating more than 35 years with over 3,000 flavors. Benson in the Old Market in Omaha. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. We're going to have Eric Sorensen stop by next hour. Still so much more to come. About 90 minutes left in our coverage today ahead of Oral Roberts versus TCU. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. How much is it?
Center of Omaha and Access Bank.
See you guys live today? We are. We're going on in like 2 seconds. You get to watch it. Welcome back to the Omaha Baseball Village. We are powered by Access Bank, here for a reason, yours. This is the second hour of the show today, and we're presented by Nebraska Medicine. Home is where your health is. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. Schaefer, the fanny packs, they're going by the wayside. People are digging the fanny packs.
Not a big surprise.
No, not at all.
Not a big surprise.
I think they heard me talking about treats for the dogs. Treats for the dogs, folks. Take the fanny pack home, put your treats in there. Because here's what I do, and I told this, I don't remember if it was on or off the air earlier. I would always put them in my back left pocket, and you get home, and it's like, yeah, I'll take the leftover treats, I'll put a bunch of small little broken things in my back pocket. I don't want that getting in my washer.
I don't know the last time I put anything in a back pocket of mine. I don't.
Either back pocket?
Yeah, I don't use either.
What about the...
No, like front pocket wallet guy.
Don't want to get pickpocketed from behind?
No, I just don't want to sit on it. I don't, it's uncomfortable.
I've gotten so used to it that, I've been sitting in my back pocket for, what year is it, 2023? I don't know, 20 years? Yeah. I put it in the other pocket, though, Shay. It feels strange.
Yeah, I made the change like a decade ago, and I was like, I'm never going back. Never sitting on the wallet again.
Never again. Interesting.
No back problems for me.
That's good.
Maybe that's the
secret. The secret to not having back problems. So, like I said, we're running out of fanny packs, so if you want one, please do stop by here in the Omaha Baseball Village. Our friends from Zen Water hooking you up. Speaking of hooking you up, we have, what did we do? We call these hydration coupons?
Yeah, hydration coupons.
We have so many hydration coupons. So if you stop by, we'll give you one. We'll just give you one. Don't even need a baseball cap. Just give you a hydration coupon, and then you can get free water. We also have some bandanas as well. So we're keeping you hydrated, comfortable. We're running low on hats now, too. Would you like the hydration coupon?
We need to figure out where the Zen Water is set up at. So
can we get one of these?
Yeah.
Yep, you can take a bandana, you can take a fanny pack, you can take a hat.
Look at that. So many things.
Yeah,
So many things. So,
awesome.
we'll continue to give those out. And I imagine the bandanas and the fanny packs will be gone very soon. Yeah. We have lots of hydration coupons, so you're going to be good to go.
We'll keep the people hydrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Shay, question for you. Do you think any sort of realignment is finished up by the end of the summer? And whoa, look at that, Chris.
We have a microphone working.
I don't know if that's the answer to the question you're looking for, but this microphone.
Someone go find Evan Bland.
Evan, come back. We'll do an interview. This will be good for Eric Sorensen when he joins us in 40 minutes. As always, Chris fixing things for us. He is the fixer. Do you, Mike Schaefer, though, think? Chris Prudon says we're going to get some finality on some realignment. Mike Schaefer, do you think we'll get some finality on realignment this summer before Nebraska plays Minnesota?
Like finality how?
Colorado announces that they're going back to the Big 12.
Okay, so you think that there's a Big 12 move coming?
Well, I think that of all of the likely scenarios, that seems to be the one that people are most bullish on.
I guess the question I have is the big move, like, are more being added to either the SEC or the Big 10 this summer? Do you think that happens?
No.
So then, not to belittle with the Big 12 making money moves here, but it doesn't strike me as there's going to be like a major thing other than
You're talking about
continued
like a
erosion of the Pac-12.
Yeah. So you're thinking less bombshell, less oh my gosh, that school left that conference, and more like that's what Colorado would be. Colorado leaving would be an erosion of the Pac-12.
Yeah, well, and then I'm assuming it wouldn't just be Colorado. You're probably talking about Utah, potentially the Arizona schools,
Four Corners schools.
And so you're familiar with the Four Corners.
People forget about the Four Corners.
Can you name all Four Corners?
What do you got? New Mexico, Colorado. What do you got in there? Wyoming? Is that one of the Four Corners? Oh no, Nevada and Utah. No, mine is way out. Arizona. Did I say Arizona? Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow! Look at this.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
know.
this geography on the air.
Are you smarter than a fifth grade?
It took me seven.
Wyoming is a Four Corner now.
Hey, settle down, Shay.
Wyoming, which borders Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana.
I was doing that. Dude, that was a joke. I was doing it for SEC.
Oh, it was a joke.
It was a bit. Just joking.
Funny bit.
Yeah.
Nevada, also a joke.
It was a bit.
There's a PNB.
Yeah, you're doing the thing. You're doing the thing again, Shake. You're responding and you're questioning people. You're doing the thing again.
I'm sorry I asked you what the four corners were.
But it's okay. That was my mistake for guessing one. That was a tough one. Tough one. Look, you know how some people say I was promised there would be no math? I was promised there would be no geography.
All right, we won't do any more geography.
Thank God. Thank God. I can name all 50.
Or geology. Or geometry. No geos.
Geology? No, thank you. No, I do not want to do geology. Do you want to do geology on the show today?
All these rocks.
Look at all these rocks. Cement. How is cement made? Is cement made with rocks?
I don't know.
Do they melt down rocks?
We're entering a territory where I have no real ability to help.
I remember when I was growing up thinking, and we'll get back to realignment in a moment. When I was growing up, I remember thinking, where do jeans come from?
Jeans?
Like the fabric. I was like, how? Now I eventually figured it out. Just
denim.
Yeah. But I was like, but where is that? Does it grow?
They come from Levi Strauss's house.
No, I eventually learned the answer. Nice, well done. But anyway, so yeah, do you think Colorado, will that be announced?
I mean, I can see Colorado being kind of the next thing that happens. It's just, it sort of then leaves it where, okay, then we got to see what Oregon and Washington are doing.
See, now, do you think that
how does that relate to the Big Ten? How does that relate to what the Big Ten wants to do with Notre Dame or Miami or North Carolina or Georgia Tech? I mean, so I don't think it ends anything. I think it only reinvigorates the conversation. I think it's a conversation starter. And so then it just leads to more questions about, okay, what's the actual future of college football? Are we looking at 3 major conferences, 4 major conferences, 2 major conferences? I mean, those are the questions. So I don't think it ends anything. I think it only starts.
Salesperson Josh has commented. Now, he is a Colorado guy. When we're there in Boulder in a couple months, he'll be wearing Colorado stuff like a monster. He says, give me Colorado to the Big Ten, still holding out hope. Doesn't that make the most sense? Rival travel partner with the Spurs, gateway to the West. I would love it. I don't think the Big Ten would love Colorado with any conference.
I mean, it doesn't strike me as their sort of. Now, if you were Colorado, I think you choose the Big Ten over the Big 12. You got a pick.
I think everybody will pick. That's the thing, though. Everybody wants to join the Big Ten or the SEC.
Well, I assume as much, but I don't know. And so I think it would be good for Nebraska if that were to happen, just because it'd be a very natural. It'd be funny how much attention would shift away from Iowa. Iowa would go from being like this red hot thing now where people are really excited that Nebraska beat Iowa last year. They ended that streak. They don't like Iowa. So all of a sudden Colorado's in the Big Ten and it's like, there's Iowa. And then that'll just be, then Black Friday shifts back to Colorado. And people would be Iowa would be like happy, but then sad because no one cares about them anymore on Friday. It's just a unique situation.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. A couple of comments.
Patrick Mahomes just grabbed a fanny pack.
Patrick Mahomes. Enjoy. Put dog treats in there.
Yeah, for my dog. We were listening earlier.
Let's go.
Go Hawks.
Yeah, that's a good take right there. Ethan says it doesn't hit anything except Oregon State athletics. Dude,
we are down to one last fanny pack.
Wow. People love the fanny packs, man. They want to put the treats in there for the dogs.
One last one out here. Who's going to get it?
Because there's a listener of ours, and we appreciate his listening. He is really bullish on Oregon and Washington being like a finality by like this summer to the Big Ten. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I just don't see the Big Ten making that move. It seemed like they were frustrated by Kevin Warren at the end for essentially announcing, like, the Big Ten, all this stuff's happening, and we're going to expand to the West. And they were like, pump the brakes on Mr. Kevin Warren. Go to the Bears. So now he's at the Bears.
And the Bears are worse for it.
And the Bears might go to, where's that town in Illinois? John asked. Did Josh just ask if concrete was made from melted down rock? Look, that was a question that young Josh had. I wondered where it came from. You can't really you can't melt rocks. I mean, I guess you could. What temperature is it to melt rocks?
What are we working in a quarry now?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
You want to become
Could you do a little research on that, Mars?
Your elementary school teachers must be so proud of you.
Mrs. Carter,
is this a masonry podcast?
I'm just asking. It could be.
The quarry holder.
I don't feel like I'm qualified to be on that.
You announced this morning.
Oh, the last fanny package gone.
You announced this morning a new podcast.
I did.
A new podcast that you're doing Maybe that's the second podcast that you're doing. The Meltdown Rocks podcast.
I could do a meltdown podcast, but it'd basically be every time I watch the Vikings.
Oh, that reminds me. I want to do a new segment with you. I was going to do every hour of every show, but maybe it's just once a show together over the next couple of days where you rant about something.
Let's start it tomorrow, and I'll see if I can do it for each hour, and I'll have a different rant. I'll see if I can do that.
So tomorrow we'll have at least 4 hours together, maybe 5. So we'll need a good 5 things Mike is ranting about.
And we'll see if I can build that up.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll do that tomorrow.
Going back to the Oregon-Washington.
Yeah. Not melt. You don't want to talk about melting down rocks.
Well, we certainly could. I just don't know that I'm qualified.
Thoughts on
I'm not qualified to talk about realignment, but I will. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't get the appeal for either of those schools. Like,
oh, isn't the appeal just you're
grouping some schools out west together?
I was just gonna say you'd rather be in the Big Ten than the Pac-12.
No. I don't get the Big Ten why they would be interested in Oregon and Washington. I understand why Oregon and Washington want an invite to the party.
Yeah, I guess I would look at it from two spots. Like having travel partners for USC and UCLA is solid. It's not like Oregon and Washington are next door to LA. It's still just because we're on the West Coast doesn't mean that that's a short flight or something. So I would say that does probably play a part in it. But for me, man, it seems like that is more of like an end game move rather than another like we got to be proactive and get Oregon and Washington. You don't have to get Oregon and Washington. You do it because you're at the end of the road and it's like, well, might as well get Oregon and Washington. That's how I do it.
I've said this for the last probably 4 years. If I was running the Big Ten, first of all, BTN would be way ahead. Second of all, Notre Dame and Wyoming. Those are the schools. Go get them. Go get the helmets. Your goal is to collect the helmets. Your goal is to collect the programs that are going to stand out on national TV. And when you have a game in October and you have USC versus Notre Dame and it counts in the Big Ten standings, that's a big deal. UCLA is playing Nebraska, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You got Ohio State playing Notre Dame in November, and the winner of that has a front row ticket to the driver's seat of the conference. But that's what I want. Oregon and Washington don't do that for me. And I like Oregon is a good program. I think Dan Lanning is a far better coach than I realized. And I think they're going to be just fine. And it does not, like, you can take whatever iteration of their stupid helmets that you want to put up there on the screen. It doesn't do anything for me. Oregon USC does nothing for me the way that Miami and USC. Oregon and Michigan does nothing for me the way that Notre Dame and Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, those Oregon matchup. It's not even so much that. It's just, and if you can get those two plus the other two, and you're going all the way to 20 at this point, great.
Uh-oh. Are we up here right now?
We dialing in?
We're off the air. Uh-oh.
All right, so it's just you and I talking at this point?
Yeah, so we really don't need to talk. What happened? I don't know. All right. So we're on a break right now? I don't know. All right.
All right.
There's a funny picture that was just tweeted out.
This is quite the technical difficulty more than our
Series special live from Omaha Baseball Village, powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, and Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours on 1620 The Zone.
Hit a home run with Down Home Southern Style Barbecue from the Rib Shack Smokehouse, 108th and Q and RibShackSmokehouse.com. We roll on with hour number 2, presented by Nebraska Medicine. Home is where your health is. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with you. Schaefer, I think that a couple of things knocked us off the air. First of all, my takes about melting rocks. I think that's kind of where we begin. And then the other takes at the Four Corner Schools and jokingly asking if Wyoming is one of them. Right?
Good joke, yes.
I think all of that kind of knocked us off the air, but we appreciate you for being patient with us as we continue on. We are about an hour away from taking you up into the broadcast booth. It'll be John Bishop and Gary Sharp on the call. Connor Hacker will be down on the field. Look at the picture of all of the guys in the booth. Young Nick Grimm. Last year at this time, his palms were sweaty. He was incredibly stressed. He looks happy. Looks happy to be there.
He threw up his mom's spaghetti?
He did, man. He basically just started singing Eminem songs.
Wow.
Yeah. A wild time.
Mackay Pfeiffer?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's an old record. That's a 20-year-old reference, man. Man, the passage of time.
It's unkind. It is unkind to your memory.
Yeah, it really is. By the way, our hydration sponsor is Zen Water. Thirsty for a change? Yeah. We still have hydration coupons to give away. We also still have bandanas to give away.
Free water.
We are rolling out. We're rolling down though.
These TCU fans want some water over here?
Want some water? We got some hydration coupons.
Some water coupons for you. Go find Zen Water. Turn that in. Get yourself
free water. We have like 2 hats left. We have a few bandanas left.
Couple hats, some bandanas.
We have no fanny packs.
Fanny packs are gone.
People love the fanny packs. No fanny. I know. Everybody wants them. Why does everybody want them, Schaefer?
They won't admit it, but they do.
They want them because they can carry their dog treats in them.
Bingo.
I didn't realize this was the #1 use of fanny packs until I got to the show today. And I guess I will keep that in mind. So the next time on Family Feud, when Steve Harvey throws it out there and the question is, what do most people use fanny packs for? I will know it's not tissues. No. It's not to carry their wallet or their phone or their keys.
No.
It's not to just have a fun little bag that allows their pockets to be free.
No.
It's to carry the dog treats.
Dog treats.
So they're not in their back left pocket crumbling into the material of the shorts.
You absolutely
I learned
nailed it.
so much stuff.
When I walk Banks tonight, I'm going to take a picture of my fanny pack on my waist. And I'm going to be like, this is changing everything.
Are these the same fanny packs that Jamie Tart would carry around during the Ted Lasso?
That's more of the
European bag.
Yeah. I did see a targeted ad on Instagram. I think Instagram knew that I wanted a fanny pack for the dog treats.
Yeah, have a bandana.
And this one shape. Not only did it have room for the dog treats, it had like a pocket specifically for your like ID and things.
Oh wow!
I was like, wow, this is a thing. I'd rather have this.
It's a fanny wallet.
I want this one from Zen Water. This is the fanny pack that I want. It says beaches love me, dogs love me too. Yeah, dogs love me too. Josh Peterson and Mike Schaefer with me, looking at Eric Sorensen stopping by in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about a variety of things with that. I don't know where we cut off in our last segment, but ultimately, I guess we kind of came to the realization that there will be some form of announcements with Realignment this summer, but it's not going to be the biggest of schools.
No, and I think it's just once again starts the conversation about what's next for the SEC and the Big Ten, which obviously somewhat selfishly with the school that I cover, I think that's the storyline. Like I understand the erosion of the Pac-12 is a big thing. I understand what the ACC chooses to do is a big thing. I think the zombie-like return of the Big 12 is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what matters in the college football world is what the Big Ten and the SEC does. It really is. Because that's dictating the future. That's dictating what your college football playoff looks like. That's dictating what, your super conferences could look like, your non-conference, all of it. You can get to a point where you don't even have to have non-conference games anymore because you have so many conference teams that's just the schedule that you play, which would be wild. How would you feel about that?
I do.
What if there's 12 games and you never played outside the Big Ten, but it just rotates constantly.
You know what? It's gauntlet. It sounds like first of all, yes, it would be a gauntlet. You know what? It also sounds like to me. That sounds like the old school, non-interleague form of Major League Baseball. You would only play AL teams if you were the Yankees. You'd only play NL teams if you were the Cubs. and then you would see each other in the All-Star game and the World Series, and that was it.
Yeah, and you'd have to figure out, about the DH and how that would work.
Yeah, what would the DH be in college football in this future that you're creating for us?
I don't know. I don't know how the DH would work.
I don't. First of all, I don't think that'd be good for the sport if SEC schools were only playing themselves, Big Ten schools were only playing themselves.
I mean, that's basically what the SEC schools are attempting to do anyway.
Yeah, I think that's
that and their peer rivals of the ACC days.
Tough schools like Georgia Tech. Man, those are tough. I mean, at least Florida State's on the schedule for one of those SEC schools.
And Clemson.
Yeah, and Clemson. That's true. But otherwise, yeah, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I wouldn't like it. I think I love the non-conference slate of September. I love when we get intersectional matchups. I love West Coast schools going to the East. I love Midwestern schools going to the West. Like I love that type of stuff. And so this year we get Florida versus Utah. Florida finally leaving the state. Like I think that stuff is so cool and so interesting. And so if we go to a world where that doesn't exist anymore, I don't think it'd be good for fans. I don't think it'd be good for a lot of things.
Yeah, but I mean, you just said it right there. Florida doesn't leave the state of Florida.
No.
Like, my biggest issue is we reward SEC teams in the preseason by just declaring that they're good no matter what.
Yeah.
Then we reward the teams that upset those and declaring that they're good even if the previous team wasn't good to start with. And then they don't really have to play a lot of non-conference matchups that matter to dictate their standing. So it's just it's like bad for the sport the way that this is going. And then, of course, they're only going to play 8 conference games. Like, I don't like it.
No,
I don't like seeing the bye games in November. It's bad.
Yeah,
I really do.
I understand why they do it.
Nothing's going to change of it.
Correct. Until there's pressure put on them by.
Well, until someone else takes over the mantle of the king of college football.
Yeah. And for right now, it's them. You can hit a home run with down-home Southern style barbecue from the Rib Shack Smokehouse, 108th and Q. The Rib Shack Smokehouse.com. We will come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 of our coverage here at the Omaha Baseball Village, getting ready for Oral Roberts and TCU. That game starts in a little over an hour from the Chuck. And then Virginia and Florida tonight. Josh Johnson and myself will be on with you in between those 2 games. We'll talk a little bit more baseball when we return. Eric Sorensen, he's also going to join us in the noon hour. And we will talk about the games and what he expects to see in the Men's College World Series. More to come from the Omaha Baseball Village here on 1620 The Zone.
From Omaha Baseball Village, powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, and Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours on 1620 The Zone.
Wrapping up hour number 2, which is presented by Nebraska Medicine. Home is where your health is. And please do stop by the Zone booth inside of the Omaha Baseball Village today or throughout the series and register to win ice cream for a year. From 10 Wally's official ice cream with 1620 The Zone, celebrating more than 35 years with over 3,000 flavors. Benson in the Old Market, right here in Omaha. He is Mike Schaefer. I am Josh Peterson. We are finishing up the second hour of the Connor Happer Show live from the College World Series. Is kind of what the branding of this thing could be, given that we are in Connor's time slot today.
Do we need to talk like Connor and do Connor-related things?
What? First of all, I want to hear you talk like Connor, and then I also want to know what a Connor-related thing is.
I don't know that I can make my voice sound like Connor, but you could have some sort of conversation as it relates to slicing deli meat in your own house. You can talk about how when you order your food, you get no substitutes and no changes because you need to eat exactly how it is prepared. For you. I mean, those are the sort of conversations we could have if we wanted to be like that.
Josh, you guys remember the 2014 Royals?
I was just going to say, hey, everybody, could we talk about the Royals for 15 minutes for no reason?
Do you want to talk about Bobby Witt? Do you know who Bobby Witt is?
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. People call him Bobby Pitt Jr.
Oh,
He has long hair, doesn't he?
I don't.
Not like shoulder length, but like
Oh, that it comes out of his
head. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
He's
baseball hair
his
is generally
second,
what that is.
His second full season in the majors, I believe, this season. Yeah. Dude, Chris is a Royals fan, so I have to watch them.
Okay, so you want me to just name random? I'm going to name some Royals players. You give me your thoughts on it.
Okay.
MJ Melendez.
No thoughts. His name is MJ.
Did you hear the news about Vinny Pasquantino?
I know something happened with him.
He is out for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's
one of the exciting young players on their lineup.
That's a bummer.
Do you know who Salvador Perez?
Yes, Salvi, they call. He's the catcher.
He is the catcher. What can you tell us about Salvador Perez?
People really like him. He's a fan favorite.
Do you think that they should trade him in an effort to fully signal a rebuild?
Have they not already fully signaled a rebuild given their record right now?
Yeah, but the thing is, they are attempting to rebuild, and none of their top 100 or none of their top prospects that they have drafted in recent years in the first round are in the top 100 prospects for most prospect services. So
really?
Their rebuild might be a long one because they don't have enough talent to get out of rebuild mode.
That's not good.
No, I know. And so
when you're bad, you want to be able to rebuild.
That's leading to people wondering if Salvador Perez could potentially be traded from the Royals. Is that something that they could do?
Who wants him?
Well, a lot of teams can use help at catcher or could use a bat.
Do the Guardians want him?
I think they would. I doubt the trade would happen individually. Okay. I would love to have Salvador Perez.
Yeah.
Cleveland has the worst catching duo in all of baseball.
Is this true?
Oh, it's not even close.
Really?
They have the single worst player in baseball. He's a catcher. His name's Mike Zunino.
The single worst player
has
on
a strikeout
rate.
He strikes out almost 50% of the time during his at-bats. He has the least amount of runs saved by any defensive position in baseball this year.
Ooh.
And I think he's batting somewhere around 161 with a few home runs.
Dude, I remember last year.
And this was their big offseason signing.
So, that's not good. There's a lot of problematic things in what Mike Schaefer just said.
Yeah, their big offseason signing being $5 million coming off of thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. So
I don't even know what that means, but it's
a shoulder thing.
Okay.
He was doomed to start with.
I would have guessed something with the throat. Yeah, it sounds like a throat thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what she said.
So am I right?
They're coming up in like an hour. Man,
coming up.
Wow, that's the old thing. So Royals back is kind of what we got to. Wow, we just did a Connor Happer impression. Now I did a bad impression of Connor because you asked me for thoughts and I didn't have any thoughts.
Yeah, that's
fair. Well, we kind of got there with Salvador Perez. That's wild that they have the worst batting catcher of all time, or whatever you said.
Oh, for Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's atrocious. What are you
Salvi
do? You can't possibly expect a team that went to the playoffs last year with a young roster to try to compete 2 years in a row.
I would never expect that.
You couldn't ask for the ownership group to put money into their team.
No, you definitely could.
What are you going to do?
And that's baseball thoughts with Mike Schaefer. Those aren't baseball facts; they're baseball opinions. but we like them nonetheless. 1620 The Zone is joined today by the Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo and Aquarium, the #1 zoo in the nation. All new tailgate days going on now. Visit omahazoo.com.
When's the last time you've been to the zoo?
I was at the zoo in 2017.
You haven't been to the zoo in
6 years.
6 years.
I almost,
5.5 years.
I almost went 3 years ago, or three weeks ago.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know how you specifically remember almost going 3 years.
I remember 2020 well. I almost went 3 weeks ago when my brother and his wife were in town, and they went, and I was unable to that day. I was busy that day. I was very sad. We're gonna go. Riss and I are gonna go this summer.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things that are different from your last appearance in 2017.
Awesome, and it sounds like, Josh, we're gonna be joined by the zoo tomorrow.
Yes. I still think we need to see if a guest can give us a Super 6.
Were we just off the air?
Yeah.
All right.
We're having a good run here.
What's up, gentlemen? You're back.
Hey!
Personals belong in baseball, not your bank. When you choose access.
What's going on, Eric? Well, I didn't get this one.
Mike Schaefer.
Good to see you, Mike.
Oh, man, good to see you.
You look like you've lost some weight from running a lot.
I do.
Access Bank has convenient branch locations and easy online solutions. Because we're here for a reason, to make your experience a home run. Learn more at
Yeah.
accessbank.com.
I'm doing Boston next year.
Oh, did he? Nice. I like that.
This summer with Sun Water. Chris Ultra Pure alkaline water bottles that help prevent ocean pollution.
Here's one that didn't like Katie basketball. Shame on that.
He hates it.
Yeah, I have no love for them. Grew up in a terrible basketball program. Fleeting moments of joy. And there'd be times like maybe like 2002, Nebraska has them on the road. Just completely falling out. Aaron Miles, Langford.
I don't know if you remember when I saw you and John in the middle of winter in December. Remember you were at that remote, and I came around just to say hi.
Cross train, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. Well, I was in town because I was going to my first ever, I'll talk to him about you, first ever KU basketball game, home game.
You went to the pod? It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to college. I mean,
Thanks a bunch. You got any,
is live at the Omaha Baseball Village.
Do you want me to do the live read? Do you want to? I did last year when I was with you guys.
Well, I'll have you do this one at the very end.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have you do that at the end.
Just this part here.
Yep.
1620 The Zone.
Final hour of the day begins right now here at the Omaha Baseball Village on 1620 The Zone. Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports with you ahead of Oral Roberts and TCU John Bishop, Gary Sharp on the call from the booth. Connor Happer on the field. That one starts just a little bit after 1 o'clock. We have Virginia and Florida in the nightcap tonight. Someone that will be at both of those games and all of the games here in Omaha over the next week and change is our dear friend Eric Sorensen from D1Baseball.com. This has now become a yearly tradition, Eric, where you stop by, say hello, and then I'll text you probably 5 minutes after you leave and say, hey, can we schedule another one of these interviews? How are you?
Yeah. Good, man. No, I expect that kind of rude treatment from you, and it's fine. I'm used to it now. For years we've been doing it. So, no, it's always good to be on with you guys. I think you guys do a little kiss ass. You guys do a great job with all this stuff, covering getting people here to talk about College World Series from different perspectives. I'm just glad to be one of them.
Well, we're happy to have you here. I want you to think back to going into the NCAA tournament a few weeks ago and who you viewed as the top 5 teams in the country. How many of those teams are here today?
I'm glad I have my list in front of me. I'm a little frequent on this one. I thought, well, the teams that I thought would be here that didn't, I thought Arkansas was certainly not a shoo-in, but certainly a player to make. And Vanderbilt didn't really send me. I thought about them too, but I saw them a couple times this year. Didn't seem to impress me all that much. They seemed kind of ordinary for a Vanderbilt team. But other than that, I knew Wake Forest, I knew LSU. LSU kind of had to open the doormat there to welcome that to Omaha. And I did think Tennessee was, even as a 2 seed, I thought them and TCU. I just thought those were 2 of the more dangerous 2 seeds out there. And the only one that I really thought was going to make it that didn't, other than Arkansas, though, was probably Clemson. Clemson was a team that unfortunately got Tennessee in their regional. I guess that's one thing to say, but they were so hot down the stretch and they were playing so good. I saw them up in Boston, of all places, a couple weeks back in late April. They just looked really good. And they see Eric Backus was saying they were putting it all together. They seemed like they were on an uptick and just ran into a hot Tennessee team, and that's what happens.
When you look at this Wake Forest team, so I'm fascinated. Like, it is so unusual to me to see that national one, next to a program that hasn't been here, and Josh, I think, 55?
Yeah, 55. Since I was a teenager.
So how did – I don't believe that.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
How did they build this thing to the point where they could just sneak up to being a 1 seed in what is a star-studded – but there are some great teams this year, and they are, by the ranking, the best team in this
team. And to me, they're I'm sure people you've had on already have said they're the most complete team in Omaha, ranked in the top 10 in hitting and the top pitching staff in the country. It's no mystery that they're here because of their pitching. They have 2 of their players, Sullivan and I'm spacing on the name now. Red Lauder, sorry. Both of those guys pitched for Team USA last summer. And so it's really rare to get a program to have 2 pitchers pitching for the collegiate national team this summer. And I just knew at that point, I was like, okay, they're going to be a real witch to deal with. They've got 2 guys that are going to be almost unbeatable. And it turns out their whole staff is really, really good. Now, how they got to this point, I think you just got to look at the head coach. I think Tom Walter's done an outstanding job with that program and developing them. I don't know if these guys are all 5-star athletes coming out of high school. I think they've really done a great job of developing their talent. And now they're kind of a junior, senior heavy team. So a lot of it's got to do with experience too. And Tom Walter just put it all together and really is one of the coolest guys in all of college baseball with the coach for Wake.
Eric Sorensen joining us right now. We had Mike Farron on our show on Tuesday.
Yeah, I love him.
And he said something that I found really interesting with Wake Forest because I asked him a question like a month ago about it doesn't seem like there's a team like Tennessee last year that had, came into the postseason with all this expectation. And he stopped me and he's like, no, Wake is that good. And so I asked him, so what, kind of like what Schaefer just asked you, what did we miss? He thought them being number 2 throughout much of the season behind LSU is maybe how they were able to fly under the radar and going back to also because they hadn't been here since 55. How much do you think that played a part of it too?
Yeah, I guess it's not. Well, now they've been number 1 since early. I guess it was early May when they took over for LSU after they stuck in the middle. So they've played now for over a month now with the big target on their back. And I might have talked with you before about this. UCLA in 19, Arkansas in 21, and Tennessee last year. All 3 of those teams were number 1 for double-digit number of weeks and went into the regionals or super regionals and got upset. And Wake Forest, yeah, they powered through it. I thought now, to be honest with you, I thought they had a little bit of an easy slate going through the regional and super regional. But they're the number 1 seed. They kind of earned that. Yeah, to me, they've not even before. Yeah, you were saying they kind of snuck up on us all. I think that's true, but now they've been there for like a month now, and they've still handled it probably better than we expected. And again, didn't get upset in the super regionals, which kind of has befallen the last 3 number 1 teams.
So I am a massive baseball dork. Play fantasy baseball. I'm in a dynasty league. So I am very interested in this College World Series because there is some high-level talent that will be playing, and we don't always get that here at the CWS. Like you don't get a lot of top 5 picks playing in this event, and you're looking at multiple potential top 5 guys that are going to be going to the Major League Baseball draft that are playing here this weekend and potentially throughout the week. Who are you most excited to see at this stage right now?
I think, well, the one I wanted to see all year, and I hadn't had a chance to in person, was Paul Skeens, the pitcher for LSU. He's going to be, top dog, and he's going to be one of the top 5 picks in the draft. And I really look forward to him because I kind of thought going into this year that, he transferred from Air Force, going from Air Force's schedule to LSU schedule. That's a little bit of a jump, you got to admit. So it's really interesting to see that he's not only increased his miles per hour to like 101 or 102, something like that, but he's also just, he's pitched his ass off all year long. He's taken a loss, but he's just been dominant every outing. And so I really look forward to him going against Tennessee. Tennessee, not quite the same offense they had last year, which was just off the charts. But they did hit 120 some odd home runs this year, so they still got a lot of power. And it'll be an interesting matchup because they're also conference mates. They know each other so well. It'll be interesting to see how Tennessee does against Skeen in that first game.
Eric Sorensen, T1Baseball.com, joining us right now here at the Omaha Baseball Village. I wanted to ask you about Tennessee. Schaefer and I have been on the air most of the week together, and we've talked about that idea of the team the year after they were supposed to do it and didn't do it. Like, when you look at this year's team, how surprising is it that they have made it back to this point? No, they didn't make it here last year.
Right.
And could they be one of those iterations where it's like we were off on them by 1 season?
Yeah, possibly so. It's kind of the and this will show like as a kid, the Dominique Wilkins. Like Georgia had Dominique Wilkins and they thought they were going to be a great team. They ended up going to the NIT. The next year after Dominique leaves, they go to the Final Four in basketball. So that's kind of why I always like to look at it. But yeah, this is the year after the best Tennessee team they've ever had. And but I still think they've done it with the pitching. Dollinger, another guy that's going to be a top 10 draft pick. Burns and Lindsey, the guy that's come along late with the last few weeks. They've just done it with pitching again, and they're the second. I think they're number 2 in the country in team ERA. So that's kind of what's carried them. And I think they've also kind of got a little bit of chip on the shoulder. Not that Tennessee doesn't play without a chip on the shoulder already, but they got a little chip on the shoulder for kind of crapping out last year. And so I think that's kind of motivated them this time around.
Eric, what's your enthusiasm for seeing this baseball that has just resulted in a home run barrage throughout college baseball in this Grand Canyon of a ballpark?
Yeah.
Where center field is where well-struck balls go to die. So obviously you get great pitching to get you to the College World Series. Timely hitting is what wins the College World Series.
Yeah.
You think we're going to see more scoring and maybe a little bit more scoring here with that baseball?
First off, when you start off with your question, I started getting PTSD from the 1998 season. USC and Arizona State 21-14. I'm like, oh, please don't let me see that.
And he's not talking about a football game, friends.
Yeah, I know.
You got to go for 2 if you get that.
Get called for targeting. No, something tells me that there's been a lot of offense, obviously, through the regional, super regionals. Wake's hit 9 home runs against Alabama. I don't think that we're going to see anything like that. And you're right. If the wind, especially if it's kind of a warmer day, you know how the winds come from the south and knock everything down, right, not just center field, but right field too. So if that's the case, I think it's going to come down to, as it always does, pitching and defense. Home runs are going to happen. They're still going to happen, maybe even more than normal, but I don't think it's going to be the be-all and end-all. You can't just go up there and just hack away. You're going to have to play small ball. You have to pitch and play defense, just like it always is.
Our good friend Eric Sorensen joining us. So, Eric, looking at the bracket overall, it seems if you were to ask people what's the best championship matchup. I think there'd be an agreement on it would be Florida coming from today and that side of the bracket. So it seems like you agree. What's the best matchup then? Florida versus whom from the other side that starts tomorrow?
Well, it'd be great to see Wake Forest. I mean, not just because they're here for the first time since 655, but that's a program that you don't really think about as a blue blood. I would love to see Wake Forest in the finals, and I think Florida would be a good pick from that side. I think the winner of the Florida UVA game, the first game, has a real good shot at getting to the finals. If the other bracket, though, the one that starts tomorrow with Wake Forest and Stanford, LSU, Tennessee, that's anybody's ball game, really. It really could be anybody. Nobody, if you told me at the beginning, Stanford's going to win it, I wouldn't be shocked. Or LSU's going to win it, I wouldn't be shocked. But the other side, to me, it would just be Florida, Virginia winner's going to have a huge leg up, and I think they'll probably play in the finals. But to me, I like Wake Forest and Florida as picks. Dark horses. TCU's been playing on fire since I saw them at the Big 12 tournament. And Stanford has some kind of lucky rabbit's foot right now that they just can't get rid of. So those would be my two dark horse picks for the finals.
What can Oral Roberts get accomplished here this weekend? I mean, this is a team 51 wins. They're a 4 seed.
Yeah.
You think they're an underdog. They don't think they're an underdog. So what do you think can happen for Oral Roberts this weekend and potentially next week?
Here's what I look at. Oral Roberts is the number 4 seed, the first one since Stony Brook and Fresno was the other 4 seed to make the College World Series. Now, if you remember, Fresno wins the national championship. Stony Brook goes kerplunk in 2 games. Oral Roberts can run the gamut between those two. They really do have the talent and the discipline. They've got a very junior, senior heavy team, and the pitching. They've got all of that. I think they're the only team here. Granted, they play a little bit easier schedule, yes, but they're the only team here that's ranked in the top 10 of all pitching, hitting, and defense. To me, I just think they just let it rip. I mean, what are you gonna? Nobody's expecting you to do it. They just play as loose as you can. I would love to see them do that, and they could definitely make some waves here. I think in their teams in their bracket, no offense to UVA or Florida, I think they could beat any of those teams in their bracket. I really do.
And they're playing about an hour from now. All right, you got to get going because you got to get in there. But before you leave, you're going to help us out.
I will gladly.
Yeah.
I want to do this live read. Now I might screw it up a little bit, but I think I'll try and do it.
All right, here we go.
I did fairly good. All right, you guys, here it is. Country Fest is back at OBV. This Friday, OBV welcomes singer and songwriter Corey Kent to the Beer Garden stage. Tickets are $20 in advance at Mattress Factory, Omaha.com, or $25 at the door.
Wow, that was perfect.
Look at that energy.
You are a professional, man. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you in between the games tonight, and then we'll see you tomorrow. We're on for about 3 hours tomorrow. Monday, too. All right,
my appearance fee will only go up, but I will be.
Well, we'll offer you more bottles of water and take a lemonade if you want.
Is it spiked?
It can be.
Eric, that pocket blast?
Eric Sorensen, D1Baseball.com, Stitch_head on Twitter. Eric, we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Man. Thanks for sharing the airwaves. We'll do it again, I'm sure.
We definitely will. That is Eric Sorensen. We have about a half hour left on today's show ahead of that Oral Roberts TCU game. Stop by the booth, though, here at the bullpen inside of the Omaha Baseball Village. You can register to win a summer prize pack with a grilled Kansas City Royals tickets and ice cream from Ted Wally's and Rib Shack Barbecue for a year. 13th. And Mike Fahey, Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer, Josh Hodson with you. More to come here on 1620 The Zone. I gotta
make a phone call.
Bay. Here for a reason. Yours on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome back to the Omaha Baseball Village. 1620 The Zone is joined today by the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium, the #1 zoo in the nation. All new tailgate days going on now. Visit omahazoo.com. And we're going to have some folks from the zoo here tomorrow, Mr. Mike Schaefer. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, I like I said, I want to get them to do their Super 6 of the best animals at the zoo.
I love this. What a ranking. I look forward to it. By the way, another guy stopped by during the break, mentioned the fanny packs, mentioned the dog. Mentioned dog. Dog treats,
I
baby.
did not know. I had no idea.
Yep, and now you're learning something new. Speaking of learning something new, it is now time to turn the microphone over to Josh Peterson as he gives us some information on the weather and the traffic.
Oh,
Yes, everybody's favorite portion. Traffic today presented by Park Omaha. Make a game plan for your parking. Reserve a downtown parking space in advance at parkomaha.com. Light traffic around the stadium right now. Obviously, getting off 680, getting off 480, you're going to find bumper to bumper as you get a little closer to the stadium. Make sure you remember, not everyone may be as familiar with the Omaha roads as you. There might be people walking around who don't know where they're going. They might just jump right out in front of you. So watch out for them. Traffic presented by Park Omaha. Make a game plan for your parking. Reserve a downtown parking space in advance at parkomaha.com. We shift to the weather, which is brought to you by Air Serv of Council Bluffs, your AC comfort shop. Stay comfortable and cool this summer with Air Serv of Council Bluffs. Right now, 84 degrees, 44% humidity, wind 5 miles an hour. We're looking at a high near 90 today. And real quick, I will tell you that no one is injured. No one at all.
Nobody's injured?
Nobody. First
Wow.
day of the series, Josh. Everyone's healthy.
Clean bill of health.
Clean Bill of Health is brought to you by Methodist Health System. Personalized care when and where you need us. Methodist, the meaning of care.
Josh, thank you. Chase, my favorite part of that whole report was when you mentioned the temperature in the mid-80s, humidity, 5-mile-per-hour wind. So it's just going to be sticky, it's going to be warm, and you're not going to have any wind to cool you off.
But you know what you would have to cool you off? You stop by and see us over here.
Tell us.
You can have hydration coupons that entitles you to free bottle of Zen water. Free bottle of Zen water. You can get hydrated. You're walking around here. It's hot. It's sticky. It's gross. Get yourself some Zen water. It's free. All you have to do, come up, find us, ask for a coupon, take a coupon, grab a bandana. We got a couple hats left. Right here.
But we're out of the fanny packs. This guy's, look at that. He says, I want a hydration coupon.
Doing a great job, guys.
Feel free. Thank you very much.
And here's
Thank
the
you
thing.
very much.
Once you're properly hydrated with the coupons, maybe you pop over and get the lemonade. This lemonade is incredible.
It is
Love
phenomenal.
it. I get excited for the fresh squeeze lemonade, whether it's a county fair, whether it's baseball games like this. Just the best stuff. It is fantastic.
I feel like whenever I have gone to things like this, you mentioned county fairs, the Men's College World Series, this is probably something I get 90% of the time.
Yeah.
I love the fresh squeezed lemonade.
Is it good for me? I don't know. I don't care. It is
tastes good.
refreshing.
It is refreshing. That is a great word for it. It is certainly refreshing. We feel refreshed. We've had great discussion today. Mike Schaefer, by the way, he'll be back tomorrow. Let me ask you one more football question.
I'm sad I'm not going to be here all afternoon.
I'm sad
I'm
too.
like, I'm here. I'm like ready to do it.
Yeah, I found out what I'm doing for lunch today, and I will tell you off the air. I think you're going to be like, wow, I'm bummed that I'm not doing it. But we have a plan for tomorrow. Okay. We have a plan for tomorrow. It is college football season officially. We decided that earlier this week. Let me ask you one question. Earlier this week, we did the whole, what do you feel like you know?
Sure.
Again, it just evolved into questions. We did the same thing with the NFL. What are you most excited about with the football season in general? You can give me a college football tape. You can give me an NFL tape. I don't care. You can give me a high school football tape. What do you think of September, October, November? What are you like, man, I can't wait for that? Okay.
Ooh. I don't know. I think with college football, we're sort of at a point where your top teams outside of USC are all kind of starting over at quarterback. And so I think we could be looking at kind of like next generation of names to
Yes, couldn't agree more.
whether that's, Quinn Ewers making the next step at Texas, whoever wins the job at Ohio State or what have you. Like, we're looking at some of these programs where you're going to have
quarterback.
Yep, you're going to have an opportunity for some fresh new faces in college football. So I'm always kind of curious about what that ultimately looks like. And then from the NFL perspective, it's just who's the next team that steps up? Like, who have we not been considering that could put themselves in this position? I know there was definitely buzz about the Eagles going into last year, but I don't think anyone would have expected the sort of season that they had. So it's always kind of who's that next team up and where could it possibly come from? Like, there's always going to be that breakthrough team, and we feel like we know the Bengals, we know the Chiefs, we know the Bills, we know the Eagles, we know the 49ers. Who's ready to join that club? Like, is there a team that can join?
We spent a lot of time.
Some years there's not.
I was just going to say, we spent a lot of time yesterday kind of separating like the top 4 or 5 teams into its own separate tier as like the favorites. And this year, maybe it's one of those years where nobody else emerges.
Yeah.
Because, I know
there's Jets fans that are like, what about us?
What about us? As a Cowboys fan, I say, what about me? What about my team? What about Dak Prescott?
What about Dak Prescott?
What about
what version of Dak are you going to get for 17?
Hopefully not interception Dak again. I didn't like interception Dak last season. I like not turnover prone Dak. I think you bring up a good thing with the quarterbacks in college football. Also, by the way, before we go to break, like if there was a year where Bama, Georgia, Ohio State were not going to win the title, this would seem to be the year.
It should line up for USC, and yet neither of us believes that it will.
You know why? Because they have Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator.
And more than Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator, they have no margin for error. I just don't think a 1 or a 2-loss USC team has any chance at a 14 playoff.
Yeah.
They have to run the table. TCU, we talked about whether they could afford to lose, and they did, and they lost to Kansas State, and they still got in. I just don't think that there's that race for USC in a Pac-12 that's not bad. Like, it's going to be interesting. Utah's going to be interesting. UCLA is going to be interesting. Oregon, it could be flat out good. But I don't think it's going to be enough to get the people who make those decisions to put USC in if they don't run the table.
Couldn't agree more. All right, we'll come back. We will say goodbye from the Omaha Baseball Village and get you ready for the first matchup of the day between Oral Roberts and TCU. It should be a fun one. The crowd here is spinning out inside of the Omaha Baseball Village because people are heading inside the ballpark on this Friday afternoon. We come back, wrap things up next year on 1620 The Zone.
How much time do we got? I got to make a work phone call.
4 or 5 minutes.
Perfect.
Baseball Village, powered by Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, and Access Bank. Here for a reason. Yours on 1620 The Zone.
Finishing things up here at the Omaha Baseball Village, head of Oral Roberts and TCU, alongside Mike Schaefer and Josh Peterson. We're also joined today by the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium, the #1 zoo in the nation. All new tailgate days going on now. You can visit omahazoo.com. Also, you can hit a home run with down home Southern style barbecue from the Rib Shack Smokehouse, 108th and Q, and ribshacksmokehouse.com. Speaking of the zoo, Shape and I'll be back tomorrow.
Speaking of the zoo, they're putting a banner up right now.
We love the zoo and we love banners. I'm a big banner guy.
You're a big banner guy?
Big banner guy.
Do you hanging banners at your apartment?
I did in college.
You get a good run, you hang a banner?
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you have a good performance at the Boston Marathon, should we pool our money together and you can hang a banner from the rafters?
Don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
I saw in the comment section earlier, I triggered somebody by, in passing, mentioning how my evolution with running has given me a better appreciation for athletes, even though I acknowledge also I'm nowhere on the same level of them. It made this guy really good. So I think I'm going to do that in every segment tomorrow.
Just acknowledge your appreciation of athletes.
Yep, and how they go through a lot. They have to work really hard. It's pretty cool. Also, I invite that guy to come run with me sometime. We'll see how he does.
All right.
See how he does.
Is that a thing now? You just invite people to come run with you?
No, I don't. I honestly don't really want to do that. So.
Yeah.
The zoo. We'll be back tomorrow, and you have a Super 6 question for someone.
Whoever we're talking with at the zoo, I just want the 6 top animals to see at the Omaha Zoo.
Absolutely love this.
That's it.
And a sleeper. God, I love this question. So we'll have that tomorrow.
I'm fascinated by who the sleeper could be.
This is going to take over the whole show tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to talk any sports.
You're going to get a lot of people that are going to send in their Super 6 at the zoo.
We should honestly start imploring people to do so right now. Yeah, I think we should. And then you can put the composite together. You should post a story on 24/7
I am not
Sports.
putting that composite.
Just surprise people with like updated Super 6, and then people are like, oh my gosh, an updated Super 6. They click into it, so people are clicking into the website, you know, and then they're like, what is this?
And then I have PETA coming after me for ranking the animals, and they're going to be mad because that could cause, negative.
Wait, is you okay with putting that on us as a station, but not on your website?
Well, no. I don't care about the website. I'm just saying, then they're going to come after me that Spider Monkey is too low, and I just don't want.
Oh, they're going to say the Spider-Man meme when they're pointing at each other. So we'll have that. Mitch Sherman also will stop by. And basically, we'll do the same thing we did with Evan Bland earlier. Hey,
we can talk a little CWS. We can talk some Husker football.
We can talk a little Jordy Ball going to Nebraska football as well. So yeah, we can just hit. We can do the hits again, and that'll be ahead of an incredible Saturday of baseball tomorrow with Wake Forest, Stanford in the early window, and then LSU Tennessee in the night.
Is LSU Tennessee your number one? So you have these 4 games. If you were to rank them, is that your number one most excited to see game?
Yes, them, and I mean, I almost want to say Wake Forest Stanford just because I have, I've heard a lot about Wake Forest over the last month, and then you see what they did in the Supers, especially last week. And then, I'm with everybody who says, look, they're not going to be able to do that here. But there's a part of me that is just like, are we going to see them score 11 runs in the early window tomorrow versus Stanford? Could we see something like that happen? But yeah, honestly, my rankings would probably go LSU Tennessee, then Wake Stanford, and then Virginia Florida, and then Oral Roberts TCU. So I feel like the series is going to begin, and the games will only get better from there.
Yeah, so it just sort of goes in the
order that they're in.
Yeah, and that works out great. I am very excited for Saturday. I'm going to be here all day. I'm going to be doing radio all day. There's going to be great baseball. It's going to be a fantastic time.
Could be or should be awesome. Who do you like today? This is it for you this morning and afternoon. So you got to give me both picks.
I'm going to say that the shine does not come off of Oral Roberts in his first game. I think they get a win here.
Okay.
And then we're looking at Virginia, Florida, second game.
Yeah.
I don't have a reason for this. I don't. There's no rationale whatsoever.
Seems like
I'm not going to pretend like I know either team particularly well.
Yeah.
But give me Virginia.
Okay.
Give me the Cavaliers.
I was going to say, but you just said, I was going to ask you to break it down a little bit more, but you just said, I'm not doing it for no reason. So I guess it came this way.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something about it. I feel like Virginia plays well when they get here, and they're going to play well again.
I think that you are spot on in the analysis of the first game. I'm with you. I have heard too many things from people who know what they're talking about this week with baseball that say, Oral Roberts is not what the numbers said next to their name. But they are not that type of program. They've had an impressive run. I continue to think back to watching that game in Eugene and how they looked in the early part, and then they blow that lead. It's like, wow, they're going to get smoked tomorrow. They won, and then watching game 3 and seeing what they did. So, yeah, I'm with you on Oral Roberts. I will disagree on the nightcap. I like Florida to get the victory.
You're on Florida.
On Florida. I think Florida's going to come out of this side. I think it's going to be Florida versus Wake, and I think Wake's going to win the national championship.
Wow.
Final answer.
I like it.
Final answer.
Give me, tell you what, give me Oral Roberts versus Wake in a championship game that no one would have saw coming at the beginning of February.
Absolutely not. Hell, they would have saw it 3 weeks ago when the NCAA tournament was started. All right, so there you go. That's a little baseball for you. That game coming up next, Oral Roberts versus TCU. John Bishop, Gary Sharp, Connor Happer on the call. I know Nick Handley will be hanging out with Happer today too, and then he'll be on the sidelines, I believe, tomorrow. It should be a tremendous series.
Baseball.
Baseball. We appreciate everyone for joining us. Schaefer and I will be back tomorrow all day long. Josh Hodson and I will be back a little bit later on today. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be spectacular. Hope that everybody enjoys the series. We appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate you joining us. Know we've had some of the issues today with the, as John said, did someone keep tripping over the extension cord today? Tape that thing to the ground. We need to. For Schaefer, I'm Josh. See you later.